Hey, what's up? Hello, everyone. Welcome into Fantasy Filmball, the show where we turn movies into sports and sports into something we don't talk about here. My name is Matt.
My name is Dyl, and today we have a fun episode for you. We are diving into Matt's current Best Picture lineup of 10, and honestly, all the real contenders in the category. But before we can dive into that, as always, consider dropping a subscription down below. It keeps you engaged with everything that we're doing here, because we're pumping out Oscar content almost daily on the channel. We have a lot of award shows. You'll want to see our live reactions, as well as a like, a comment. It helps us grow and stay connected with all that good YouTube algorithm. But it's time to dive into your life, and just to tease it a little bit, I would say we've been doing predictions for about a year and a half now, and you've always been bold with your Best Picture number one. Sometimes it works out really well with Everything Everywhere.
Yeah.
Sometimes, like this year, it's bounced around a little bit with Color Purple over to Anatomy of a Fall, but now you have a new number one. And we've both seen this movie, and we both seem to be higher on it than a lot of other people are. So I don't have this at number one, but I do have it in my top 4 at the moment. And what movie would this be?
Anyway, I'll tell you my methodology and the reason I predict the way that I do. So really what I'm trying to do is I don't follow how the trends are going. I kind of look ahead and look at the opportunities that I see for there to be a trend. And so in my predictions, I know at this moment Oppenheimer is the front runner. I'm not saying that American Fiction is currently the front runner. I think that there's a path for it to eventually be the front runner. But at this moment, Oppenheimer is in first place. I'll just say that for now, just so that anyone out there who's angry at me for not having Oppenheimer number one, technically it's number one. I just think that it's going to fall off. And a huge part of my methodology in predicting this year specifically is that looking at trends of past years, the frontrunner always falls off. And there's been a lot of discussion as to why that is. Is it just coincidence? I don't think it is coincidence. I think it's that humanity has like a natural tendency to want to always have the shiny new thing. And whatever's trendy, whatever is the thing of the moment, that is what people go for. And that's why it's very hard to be a frontrunner for the whole season, because people always go to the shiny new thing. That's why movies like Everything Ever All at Once or Coda really pan out, because they're not the thing that people are talking about all year long. Now you might say, but Matt, Everything Ever All at Once released in April. And yes, the online film community was talking about it all the way from April, but were Oscar voters talking about it? I don't think so. Were the 60-year-old voters talking about it? No, they probably didn't give it a chance till Jamie Lee Curtis told them to. So, in my mind, I'm looking for the shiny new thing. When people get tired of Oppenheimer, when Oppenheimer's no longer the zeitgeist, what are they going to go to? And my answer is American Fiction. Now, hold your horses. Y'all are going to say, that's ridiculous. That movie's getting 3 nominations. It's the weakest TIFF People's Choice Award ever. It's a no one cares. It might not even get a Best Picture nomination. Slow down. Hear me out. Okay, my reasoning here, for one thing, audiences love this movie. It has been cleaning up audience awards all over the place, from TIFF to Middleburg to Mill Valley to what are some of the other ones? It's won so many. Savannah, I think.
I know it's racking up all of them. Somehow it didn't win in Virginia, but a little bit of bias went in there. But yeah, the crowd there ate up American Fiction. Even the people who clearly this movie was like targeting at still loved it. And if you look at a bigger scale, those same people are the majority of the Academy, so they could eat it up as well.
Well, that's the thing. This movie is like a more woke version of Green Book. It is a type of movie that is very easy to like. It's very palatable, and it specifically kind of targets in on white liberal behavior, I guess, as its target to satirize, and how so many white people with good intentions are like, we want to uplift black stories, but the only black stories they uplift are, 12 Years a Slave or Precious or Boys in the Hood, stories about poverty or suffering. And this is a story that challenges that. It's a very middle-brow, crowd-pleasing comedy that looks at Black American life through a different lens, a lens of joy and laughter rather than black trauma porn, as people have now kind of dubbed it. It's easy to like. No one's talking about it as a Best Picture winner right now. And the way I see things going is that Oppenheimer will remain the Best Picture frontrunner until, let's say, like mid-January. It'll win the Golden Globe for Best Drama. Meanwhile, American Fiction will win Best Comedy over top of Poor Things, over top of Barbie, which will make people kind of go, oh my god, what's happening? That's strange. But it'll also be nominated for like Best Director there, might win Screenplay, and then Guild nominations will come around. This will be everywhere. It might get DGA. It's going to be a PGA nominee. It's going to probably get SAG Ensemble. And then when it starts winning those awards, it's the type of movie that wins PGA, especially if people are a little bit tired of Oppenheimer by that point, which my prediction is they will be. In February, March, people are going to be a little sick of Oppenheimer. Maybe I'm biased. I just think that. And then when it wins PGA, when it possibly wins SAG Ensemble, it would win WGA as well. That's the path for it. I think this is going to be a Spotlight-esque winner, picture, adapted screenplay at the Oscars, and a few other nominations, but really just the 2 wins.
Yeah, I mean, to back you up a little bit of American Fiction, the nomination hole this movie could get, especially after seeing it, is obviously picture, actor, adapted screenplay, and then where from there. I'm a big believer in the score here. You can go throughout the last few years.
I agree.
The same type of score does pop up from time to time. I mean, we have Black Klansman and Defy Bloods that use some of the same instruments here. American Fiction could get in as well. I think that it is... If it is a serious contender in Best Picture, editing will come along, so that's up to 5 nominations. And then maybe even a supporting actor, supporting actress if they really love this movie. I'm not to that point at the moment, but I do have American Fiction getting 5 noms, winning... I don't know if I have it winning any at the moment, but I can definitely see the angle that you're talking about. To defend Oppenheimer a little bit, I'm a believer that this movie will stay the zeitgeist, stay on top of people's mind, stay their number 1 favorite throughout the whole season. We haven't had one of these in a long time. Nomadland, sure, maybe that counts, but before that, it's been a few years, and so we've had a movie from its release all the way to stays number 1. I just think Oppenheimer's that because it has director. It's going to win a boatload of text, and adapted screenplay and lead actor look very strong. Obviously, American Fiction can overtake there. I never really bought Poor Things, which is your number 3, as a Best Picture winner. Yes. I think it's one of those where it can get all those nominations. It's something that you and I at least were... Something that we were saying all the way back in January when we started our predictions. This looks like an across-the-board player, but can it be a winner? We don't really think so. It's come out. It had its buzz. Something that in our Discord, which you can join down below, when it first had its first screening in Venice, everyone's like, oh my gosh, Poor Things is winning pictures. Like, just wait a little bit. Wait for more people to see it. Wait for the buzz to die down a little bit. That's where we're at now. And people are like, okay, maybe it's not a winner, but it's still a 10-plus nomination movie. And boom, 10-plus nomination movie makes sense for your number 3.
Like you said with Poor Things, I do think that this is number 3 in Best Picture because it's second place in both director and adapted screenplay in my mind. You know, this is clearly a runner-up choice in those categories. Maybe it's too weird for the Academy, maybe it's a little too artsy, but it is going to be a strong nominee across the board. I see 12 nominations for this movie and 3 or 4 wins, depending on how it does in production costume design. So I feel very good about Poor Things still. But after that, Barbie is still hanging out near the top. Now, this one is really close to the top because it looks in winning conversation for original screenplay, and if that's the case, then we have to put it into that picture conversation. As well, it could pick up PGA. It could pick up SAG Ensemble. It is probably going to get a DGA nomination, and it's probably going to get a director nomination at the Oscars. And if it gets all of those things, it's got a nice package for a win. I just don't know if I buy that the Academy is going to go for something that a lot of their membership is going to write off a little bit as a toy commercial. And that's fine. I mean, I think we all know and can acknowledge that Barbie is more than just being a toy commercial, but it's very easy to look at that movie, especially probably for older voters, and go, it's a movie for babies. It's not true, but it's easy to write it off.
I think this could upset at PGA. SAG looks very likely for a maybe ensemble win, and then BAFTA even. I think they will bite on Barbie, especially in some of those jury systems. Maybe it misses out in picture, but I could see it get into actress there, maybe supporting actress, screenplay, so on and so forth. I think Barbie's being very much overlooked at this moment, and it's just, when do people come back around like, oh yeah, Barbie was the biggest movie of the year?
Yeah, it's Top Gun. It's Top Gun in all the ways that Top Gun was Top Gun. You know, it's maybe a little too commercial for some people to take really seriously, but when it comes to the end of the day, Barbie will be there all year long. It's much stronger than Top Gun, though, because this is screenplay competitive, and it is winning supporting actor. I think it's going to be a clean sweep for Ryan Gosling. I really do. I feel very strongly about a Ryan Gosling win in this category. But moving on to my number 5 slot, Killers of the Flower Moon is right here. It's kind of just hanging out in this limbo. It's not win competitive, I don't think, in any category. Some people are going to say Gladstone's win competitive. I disagree. I would strongly disagree
that Gladstone's not win competitive. I still think it has an angle for adapted or maybe score, but I think those are very much on the outside.
Score, maybe. Adapted, I see it as 4th place. It's behind Oppenheimer. It's behind Poor Things. It's behind American Fiction.
I agree with all that. I still think those 4 all do have a shot still to win.
I don't know if I would agree, but I'll give you score. I think it has a shot to win score. And maybe if Emma Stone really falls off, Lily Gladstone could win Best Actress, but I don't see it. That role is not a lead role. It's Michelle Williams all over again. To me, Killers of the Flower Moon is The Irishman. It's The Fabelmans. It's the movie that gets hyped up so early on, and it doesn't actually have the passion to move through. It gets nominations across the board, 10 or 11 nominations, 0 wins.
Yikes. You gotta feel bad for Mario at this point. That's 2 straight big movies, 10 plus nominations, and just can't pull it out in a single category.
Dude, he knows that he did an interview when Killers of the Flower Moon premiered at Cannes, where he said, I don't make movies for the Oscars. I never have. The Oscars didn't like my stuff for about 20 years.
I like your top 5, and honestly, I like your top 6. And I think a lot of people, if you don't have this as your 6 in any sort of order, I'm a little confused of what you're doing. I've seen people put your 7 or put your 11 in your top 5, and I just think those are big stretches.
People are in denial about American Fiction at this point. And look, you don't have to have it as your number 1, but if you don't have American Fiction in your top 5, you got to catch up. Like, if you're clinging on to the holdovers as the crowd pleaser in there, you got to catch up. It's not the holdovers. That has been losing every audience award. It is not the crowd pleaser that people are talking about. American Fiction is. And there's a tendency in every award season for people to be clinging to the past a little bit. And because American Fiction was kind of an out-of-nowhere success, it was something that, we've been talking about since it was first announced for the TIFF lineup, but a lot of people didn't know about it until after it won the People's Choice Award at TIFF. And with movies like that, it takes some people a very, very long time to admit that they're actually a thing.
Yeah, I think to be top 5, you need to be either number 1 or number 2 in director, a screenplay category, or one of the leading acting performances. American Fiction can make the case as number 1 or number 2 in adapted. Oppenheimer, number 1 in director. Poor Things, number 1 in actress. Barbie, number 1 in original screenplay. Killers of the Flower Moon, sure, maybe it's not top 2, but it's Martin Scorsese, it's Apple's push, it's in there. Maestro is probably number 2 or number 1 in actor. And after seeing the movie, I know this is your list, so I'll hand it back over to you shortly, but after seeing Maestro, this would easily be my least favorite Best Picture nominee of the year. Maybe this or Holdovers. I'll have to see on rewatches how they perform. But Maestro is such a well-crafted movie, but it has one of the most boring and messy scripts of the year. And this is something that we had talked about in a previous episode out of Venice. Is like, why did Maestro not win a prize? Why is it underperforming here? Why does every festival that gives out acting awards not give it to Cooper? And a lot of people at the film festival that I saw Maestro at had the same reaction. Like, they really like the movie, or they really like the text of the movie. They just don't really connect with the movie. And to me, I know Netflix has nothing else, but I still think there's a chance where Maestro could underperform, that we get further. It's really just going to fall in the back of Cooper. If Cooper is a serious actor winning contention, Maestro survives. But if he's not number one, and it still is Cillian Murphy, I think there's a world where Maestro could dip in something else. I don't know what it would be. Maybe it is May December, which also, after seeing it, I don't see picture. I see the other stuff, though. Or maybe it's Society of the Snow.
I was literally just going to say, what if... I mean, we can't look for All Quiet on the Western Front every year, but I do feel like if Maestro dips, it's going to be around BAFTA time. And at this point last year, we had no faith in All Quiet on the Western Front either.
I know, we had dropped it. You had come out of it saying, like, oh, this is obviously in for picture. And then just Netflix didn't care about it. And I think it'll be really interesting in the next few weeks. How does Netflix push Society of the Snow? Because everyone who saw it at
cares
AFI
about Society of the Snow.
Loved it. They adored it. They say it's Bayona's best, if not his best, his second best movie. They say could be a possible tech contender. International, I mean, if Zone is too controversial for people, maybe it's a winner here. And I could see the case at minimum, even if it doesn't win international. It could be international, it could be score, it could maybe be sound and visual effects.
Cinematography.
Boom. Cinematography.
Yeah. So, I mean, you'll see I have Society of the Snow down at 25, but I do see a very strong avenue for this movie to really pick up steam.
I'll say one thing to give Maestro some credit. I did love the text of this movie. There's one scene, I don't want to go into the scene because I know you haven't seen it yet, but when the scene comes on, all the positive raves I see from Maestro.
It's a conducting scene, right?
It is a conducting scene, but I won't say which one because there's a few conducting scenes, but it is the conducting scene, and it is so well made. And if Cooper does slide for director, I think it would be solely based off of that scene. And honestly, I think that's his Oscar clip. Does he get to talk in that scene? No, but he is so committed in that scene. And honestly, I think the scenes where when Cooper's not acting, I think are the highlights of this movie. When it's just like Cooper, like, oh, he's talking or he's doing this, I think that's when the movie loses steam. But when he's performing, that's when this movie shines. And Holdovers is your number 7. After seeing it, I don't see the case for this to win anything. I don't think Divine Joy Randolph's great. She does not have a moment. I don't know why voters would put her at number 1. Giamatti, I had to make my actor prediction lineup today. Giamatti is my snub. He's the one out for Jeffrey Wright to get into the lineup. And I could see at the end of this day, Holdovers, picture, original screenplay, Randolph, that's it.
That is exactly what I have it for. I don't think it gets Giamatti. I don't think it gets Payne. People are clinging to, well, every single time that Alexander Payne has had a movie in Best Picture, he's gotten into director. And I'll tell you why that happened. Sideways was the second place movie in 2004. The Descendants was the second place movie in 2011. And Nebraska was top 5, and it had a cinematography nomination and was very visually ambitious. The Holdovers has no reason to be in. It's not a top 2 movie. It's not going to get those tech nominations that Nebraska got. It's not getting director. It's not getting editing. There are bigger crowd pleasers than it this year. There weren't many bigger crowd pleasers in 2013 for Nebraska. And also, it was a different time for the Academy. So is this solidly in picture? I believe so. Yes, it's definitely going to be picture nominated. It's definitely getting that screenplay nomination. It might be second place for a screenplay win. It might be competitive if Barbie goes back to the adapted category. But, like, I don't see any more for this. And Giamatti's performance is small. It feels like a snub. It doesn't feel like he needs to be in. And I think people are just clinging on to a few months ago when The Holdovers looked like the crowd pleaser to beat. Well, guess what? It has been beaten. It has won precisely 0 audience awards.
I also think a lot of people who are still pushing The Holdovers are people who haven't seen it. I think there's a lot of people, because Holdovers did play at a lot of fests, but it's yet to come out in wide releases, played in New York, LA. And I feel like a lot of people are going off of those initial buzz like you're talking about, where people are like, oh my gosh, Holdovers, Payne, he's back. It's better than Downsizing. But like you said, other stuff has also shown, other stuff has been seen by people that are getting better buzz. And Holdovers, sure, if it's stronger, yeah, Giamatti's back, and that's 4 nominations. Editing, maybe. Don't know why they would go for this over Barbie or over American Fiction, but it does have some cross resolves. I'll give it that. But like cinematography, maybe not. Sessa's good, but he's also young. If this movie is not a top 5, top 4 contender, he's not able to break into that category that it's stacked.
Too tough a category. So after that, I've got my number 8 spot is one that a lot of people are going to disagree with, which is All of Us Strangers. This to me, yeah, I know you disagree with it. I'm going to be seeing it next week, hopefully. And hopefully I'll see Poor Things this week. I have spots reserved for those screenings, but we'll see if I get into them. Anyways, with Strangers, the thing that kind of rings true to me here is that Searchlight is pushing the hell out of it. And if there's anyone that can brute force 2 nominees in, it's Searchlight. And this one seems to be a critic darling. I could see this pick up a ton of critic circle wins, including maybe one of the trifecta will go for this. I could see the National Society of Film Critics give this Best Picture. I could see Andrew Scott win 2 of 3 trifecta awards. There is just such a love for this movie among highbrow people. And to me, as much as The Zone of Interest seems to be that movie that the European highbrow voters go for, All of Us Strangers does too. And could both of them make it in here? I think so. To me, this is the tar to The Zone of Interest's Triangle of Sadness. That's, I guess, it's a highbrow movie that seems like a real emotional tearjerker, and I see this getting into supporting actress for Claire Foy. I see this getting into adapted screenplay quite easily, unless Barbie comes into that category. I see a cinematography nomination possibly, and I see an actor nomination if we see Giamatti get snubbed, and if we see someone else in that top 5 get snubbed, which is very, very possible.
I mean, my case for Strangers being out of the picture is just in every category where it's trying to compete for, it's just so stacked. You mentioned lead actor. Scott's probably number 7 at this moment. He would need 2 people to drop down. Adapted screenplay, I'm teetering between 5 and 6 for it, so maybe it can get into screenplay. And then the supporting category, supporting actor, I think is too tough. Supporting actors is wider
supporting
out,
actor is
but
tough.
the people who at least I've talked to physically who've seen the movie, and people you and I have talked to through these videos, never point to Claire Foy for being the strongest of the ensemble. So to me, her being the low nomination would be a weird shout when you could go with people like...
She won't be the low nomination.
People like Viola Davis, and you can go with people like Penelope Cruz, who are the standouts of their movies that may not be in the picture race but are still strong. And then the tech categories for this, I don't see the angle for. I haven't seen it for it at the film festival. I went to see American Fiction during the slot instead, so you'll be seeing it before me. So I'm very excited for your thoughts about this. And then this is the one in our Best Picture lineups where we don't correlate. I have Strangers out. It's currently my number 12, number 13 in that range. But the rest of your top 10 is also in my top 10.
Well, then let's finish it off. I've got Zone of Interest at number 9. This, to me, feels like it could very easily miss, but I'm not going to predict that at the moment because it looks strong in Best Director. It looks strong in sound. It looks strong in cinematography. It looks incredibly strong, like frontrunner strong in international feature. A24 wants this to happen. They are pushing for it, and it's very possible that voters see the film and just go, this is important. Let's do some. This is cinema history right here. And the film does feel like that. I don't love it. I need to see it again. But this is cinema history. This is going to be looked at 20, 30 years from now as a landmark moment in film. A film that was never copied and yet had enormous influence on the way that people make films about tragedy. So I really see The Zone of Interest being the very bottom of the picture lineup. It could get booted out. Past Lives could happen instead of it. I do not see both of them happening, but it's either Zone of Interest or Past Lives, and right now Zone of Interest feels like the moment, while Past Lives feels a little bit past prime.
I like that play on words there. But for Zone of Interest, we don't have a proof stat for this, but if you think about it, when would be the last time if we had a lineup of 10 in picture where a director nomination would not have made the lineup? Because you can go to Thomas Vinterberg. He didn't get in that year of 8, but if it was 10, another round, it's probably in.
I don't think it would have been.
And
No,
I think
2020,
Glazer,
One Night in Miami, and Ma Rainey would have been the 9 and 10.
I don't
or
know.
if not Ma Rainey, it would have been like Borat or something like that.
I think it would have been between Borat, One Night in Miami, and Another Round for 9-10, those two. My Rainey missed screenplay. I think that kicks it out of being into that top 10 lineup. And it very
maybe
much underperformed
I guess you
with
could
The
see it as
Wins.
like The Whale in that same sense, and The Whale was probably number 11. And to wrap up my top 10, I have The Color Purple right now, and the reason this is so low, when really after this premieres, I could see this jetting up to the number 6 spot, the number 5 spot, but right now I just don't have a ton of faith in The Color Purple. This is my shaky 10. And reason that I don't have a lot of faith is that, for one thing, the marketing of this movie has been not good. Really not good. The poster is god-awful. The worst poster in a year of terrible posters. The trailer is giving no indication of what this movie is. They're hiding Fantasia, which is really off-putting. And in terms of box office, this is a populist movie that is going to need a huge box office pull, and the trailers are not pulling numbers that are indicating that this is going to be a box office sensation. Well, I've talked about past lives, so I've got Anatomy of a Fall at number 12, and I don't see a world where the Zone of Interest and Anatomy of a Fall coexist in here. And after seeing Anatomy of a Fall, I just don't really see this as a Best Picture nominee. It doesn't feel like it needs to be. I don't think it's going to make screenplay. I think Air and May December will overpower it. And there's a world where Sandra Hüller misses out too, because actress is wicked stacked. Justine Triet, I don't think is in the top 10 for Best Director. To me, Anatomy of a Fall is the beloved art house darling that doesn't really go anywhere. I feel like we have that type of movie most years. And to me, maybe I'm wrong about this the way I was wrong about Triangle of Sadness last year. I was adamant that Triangle of Sadness would not happen after I saw it. The entire year, it just seemed like it was falling and falling and falling. So what would change my mind about Anatomy of a Fall? I would want to see it get into the Golden Globes in at least 2 categories. You know, I would like to, I mean, maybe not 2, because 2 I could take for granted. Sandra Hüller in drama and international. But I would want to see it get into drama at the Globes. And I would want to see a massive overperformance at the Critics' Choice and at BAFTA. And if it doesn't have that massive overperformance, I mean, Critics' Choice, maybe not. But BAFTA, if it is not in picture, director, actress, screenplay, editing, a couple of other categories, I have no faith in this.
I'm on the opposite side of you. I'm holding it until it starts missing stuff like that. We both learned last year from Triangle that movies like this may not seem as strong at the beginning, but once we hit some of those guilds, once we hit some of those international branches, that's when the love starts to show out. I do agree, Triet's not going to get into director. It's too stacked of a field this year, and they have Glazer. Why would they go with Triet? But I still do have this in screenplay. It's currently my number 3, and I have it in actress where it's currently my number 4. That would be its package, screenplay, actress, picture, but it's easily can go on the outside. Like I said, it is my number 10. It's just the next stuff in line. Like, funny enough, I'm wearing a Nike Air t-shirt. That movie needed stuff to drop. Nothing's really dropped at this moment. Plus, Amazon has other stuff. American Fiction. May December, after seeing it, I don't see the case for picture, but screenplay seems so likely, and Charles Melton could slip in there as that 5th supporting actor. And yeah, I'll let you dive into some of those movies as well as the rest of your ones that you feel confident that could have a shot in Best Picture, because your list is 26
for sure,
and some movies here definitely are going to get into that 10.
Yeah, well, I mean, everything that I've got on my list of 26, I think there's an angle for in some way, but a lot of them really I have no faith in. But I mean, I at least see a path. But yeah, I mean, after 12, I really would struggle to find anything. I think that the 10 are going to be in that top 12. Whether it's Anatomy of a Fall, Past Lives, Taking Out, Strangers, Zone of Interest, Color Purple. I think the top 7 are safe. And, you know, the 8 through 12 is fighting out for those last 3 spots there. Now, after this, I've got Air at number 13. This one, is going to have a resurgence when we come to the guilds, because it's probably getting PGA. It's going to get Golden Globe love, but a lot of that probably won't matter a ton, because what else can this get? You know, it needs a bigger resurgence, and it's not going to get any tech love. So, you know, when it comes to it, is it really going to get into picture on the back of just a screenplay nomination? Viola Davis is not making it in. So, like, what else is it getting? Nothing.
Yeah, Viola Davis, I could very much see, like, small. Like, she would be, like, the surprise on the morning of, just because people do agree she's the best in the movie. I don't think that, but a lot of people out there do agree that she's the best in the ensemble, and that category is so weak, she could slither in. But I think its real angle to getting a Best Picture nomination would be SAG Ensemble. But as we've talked about numerous times in Discord, numerous times here, SAG Ensemble always has at least one movie that's not in Best Picture, and you can maybe make the case that's Color Purple, but to me, that screams more Air if your other nominees are going to be Barbie, Oppenheimer, Killers of the Flower Moon, Color Purple, American Fiction. I mean, some people say Poor Things. I think Poor Things is going to be the miss of the year because it's a big three and like lighter performances. I haven't seen it, but that's at least what people say. So to me, that's the outside looking in, and then that's where Air comes in and being like, hey, we're the Babylon this year. We're the Crazy Rich Asians. We're not in picture, but we got that ensemble nomination.
Yeah, it to me feels like a film that is going to be over-predicted and completely underperform. Then following that, I have another movie that it needs some of those other movies above to really drop, which is Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse. This film is being pushed like crazy by Sony Pictures, but that doesn't mean it needs to get in. It's Sony Pictures. They don't always succeed, and it's an animated superhero film. This might be my favorite movie of the year, but I'm not going to be like over predicting this. I at this point think this might just be an animation nomination, but let's say something drops out of the adapted screenplay 5. Maybe Spider-Verse comes in there. Let's say something drops out of the sound expected list. This could be a sound nomination. It could be a surprise visual effects. There are avenues for this movie to still make it. And if The Color Purple fails, if Air doesn't catch on, Spider-Man could become a consensus populist choice for that very, very low part of the Best Picture lineup. May, December, it's too divisive, and it seems like Netflix really doesn't give a shit about it beyond acting. And Charles Melton, to me, he screams a Golden Globe nomination, a Critics' Choice nomination, Mrs. SAG, Mrs. Oscar. So that's kind of how I think that this could get screenplay, and it might struggle to get a little bit more than that. Following that, we've got Saltburn. It's too Gen Z for the Academy. Doesn't feel like something that they're really going to like. Now, it has had a bit of a resurgence. It's won some audience awards. Great for the film. But in the end, I don't know if the Academy is going to fall for something like this. And keep in mind as well, this is probably the third priority for Amazon MGM. And while Saltburn might be too young for the Academy, on the other hand, Napoleon is far too old. This is a movie of the past. Now, I've got it at 17 still because there is some tech potential for this, and because it hasn't premiered yet, we can't discount this being like a miracle late career masterpiece. I don't think it's going to be that. Ridley Scott's had plenty of chances to make a miracle late career masterpiece, and he has not done it. I don't like The Last Duel. I don't like House of Gucci even more. So to me, Napoleon, I have zero faith in. This is the biggest Best Picture nominee of 30 years ago. Now, Priscilla and Rustin are sitting at that 18-19 range. Priscilla is a little too cold for the Academy, and A24 just has other things to push. Did I love Priscilla? Absolutely. Did you love Priscilla? No, you did not. And I think that's going to be... you gave it a 6 out of 10.
That's a like in my book, but yeah.
If we talk about me being an Oppenheimer hater, and I gave it a strong 8 out of 10, and I constantly am like, I liked Oppenheimer, I just didn't love it, and people still label me a hater, I can label you a Priscilla hater.
Priscilla for me is something I've been very warm on for its chances for the Oscars, but after watching it, it would be Spain or bust. I think the costume work is good, but I don't think it's showy enough to break in there. Production design, no. Adapted screenplay is what I'm kind of teetering at that 6. If Spain's stronger, maybe this is in support, but Strangers, obviously, like you said, has that love where I think it could break in to be a solo nomination.
Nayed and Rustin, they both appeal to older audiences. They are conventional biopics with strong leading performances. Annette Bening, could she pull Nayed along? No. I don't think so. But there are certain pundits that do think so it's still worth considering and putting it on the list. Then, to rattle off a few others, The Iron Claw is at number 20. I think this movie looks not good, but it is one of the late movies that we haven't seen yet, and so it feels like it would be silly to not consider this as a possibility because it's unseen, and it's possible they're holding on to something brilliant. Same with Wonka, which I think looks so fun. And in a year where we've got a lot of serious frontrunners like Oppenheimer, Killers of the Flower Moon, Maestro, maybe, just maybe, people will want a little bit of magic. But that said, we do have a little bit of magic in that Best Picture lineup. We've got Barbie. We've got Poor Things. We've got The Holdovers. We've got American Fiction. All crowd-pleasing light movies. And if they want other crowd-pleasing movies, you got The Color Purple. You got Air. You got Spider-Man. You know, are they going to go all the way down to Wonka? I don't think so. I mean, we already talked about Society of the Snow. Its angle is BAFTA long lists. I would say the same thing for The Taste of Things. Its angle is BAFTA long lists, and if Juliette Binoche becomes a major player in the supporting actress race, then The Taste of Things could just sneak along and kind of make it in some other categories like cinematography or sound, or maybe, you know, pulling off a miracle international feature win. I would love to see that happen. I think it's not very likely, but we got to consider the possibility because they want it to happen. And Juliette Binoche is lovely in this. And
I think on the same lines as The Taste of Things, I think Perfect Days is pretty equivalent to that. Personally, I see the angle for Perfect Days having a little bit stronger of a reason. I think Perfect Days is stronger in international than Taste of Things, but I guess Taste of Things would be stronger for picture.
No.
I think Perfect Days can get more number ones. Well, you have 2 movies left in your list of 26, and honestly, you can make a funny thing saying they appeal to the exact opposite type of crowd.
Oh, they totally do. Sound of Freedom. I mean, my case with Sound of Freedom the entire time, having it in my Best Picture list,
PGA.
It's been not just PGA, but it's been if Angel Studios in like December starts putting out ads everywhere saying Sound of Freedom, it's the movie they don't want you to vote for. Who is they? Well, but like that's the route that they're going to go on. There's going to be dog whistles and things thrown out all over the place. And Origin, yeah, it's the absolute opposite type of voter. There are people that are so passionate about this movie, myself included, but are we in large numbers? No, there are dozens of us.
Dozens.
There are dozens of us. But yeah, to me, Origin, there's the smallest, tiniest route, but it would be very easy for me to drop Origin from my list entirely, whereas I think the 25 above it, all of them have an argument. Origin, I'm really struggling to see it.
I think Origin's case would kind of be one of those where it's just very passionate, like the same as, I mean, not to the same level, but like a Zone of Interest where it just gets a lot of number ones. Origin's clearly not enough on that scale of stuff, but Origin, I think, which we'll talk about in a future video, so make sure to subscribe, has a possible angle if it can slither its way into the original screenplay category, but, you know, that's a discussion for another video.
That is true. I think it would also maybe need Golden Globes to boost it. If the Golden Globes really fall head over heels for it, which they could, because it's such a small voting body and they have so much disproportionate power for how small of a body that they are, they could go for it. That said, that is my list. I'm not feeling incredibly confident right now. I mean, I feel dead set on my top 7, but after that, it's kind of, you know, all over the place.
And if you made this far in the video, it's like
No,
an
people
hour.
are-
So
Y'all are gonna
much
tell me I'm an idiot for this
we
one.
very much appreciate it if you made it this far, and the same spiel. But if you made it this far, you probably already subscribe, already drop a like. So we very much appreciate all of that. But we'll be having my director and adapted screenplay, Matt's original screenplay predictions in a future video coming out in like a day or two. So definitely keep an eye out for that. But until next time, my name is Dyl.
And my name is Matt, and this is Fantasy Filmball.